Chapter 36, Salt Lake and Salty Peng/Bird. What did he see? Just about a mile away from the stone pillar, there was a bright, red and purple sea of grass that is almost invisible. In the surrounding the purple-red sea of grass with at least half the diameter of the opposite side, there is a narrow-eyed lake with a slight depression in a wide area. Behind the narrow lake there a grassland, and on the far side of the grassland you can also see a large lake with an area that can't be seen easily. And the stone pillar Yan Mo is in is like the most middle, top, and at the edge of a large arc. A fan-shaped land about a mile round around the stone pillar formed an irregular conical hill, and the stone pillar is the cone tip. Looking out from the stone pillars, the land on the right side of the arc is about a kilometer away from the forest that completely obscures the line of sight. The forest Yan Mo does not know how wide and far it is, and he does not know how the terrain behind it. There are many land trees on the left side of the arc, but they are relatively low. Yan Mo can also see several rolling hills connected to Shan in the distance. In front of the stone pillar, that is, the north side he is facing now, he can still see the shadows of the high mountains in the distance. It turned out that this mountain from the bottom of the grassland about 2 kilometers high is actually a plain land, or is it more correct to say that it is a plateau? Regardless of whether the land is a plain, a plateau or a semi-basin, according to this tendency to extend to things in the front, even if it is to a distant mountain group, how large is the land? Yan Mo knocked his head, and the terrain looked a bit familiar, as if he had seen a similar terrain in the original world. I remembered. It is only in his memory that the plateau cliff is not another plain, but the ocean. It is said that this kind of terrain is the result of the crustal changes and the mutual land tectonic shifting of the land. As a result, some of the land has risen. When the sea water has dried up, it has become a continent with a high drop in sea level, while the falling part is still the ocean. So, was it once part of the ocean? Or was it originally such a terrain? Is there no ocean at all? Yan Mo only has 6 hexagrams for geology, and he does not want to study them. No matter what kind of topographical changes made the narrow lake in front of him, the lake already exists. Yes, the focus is on the lake. The lake that is surrounded by a large purple sea of grass and narrow at both ends like an eye is the real reason for his sluggishness in thinking things. No, in fact, he is not in a daze. The obvious scene in his eyes is the enthusiasm after seeing huge wealth, and the full surprise of the blessings for his being kidnapped disaster. The warriors from Yung tribes were so hard in their quest to find the salt. For this reason, he did not hesitate to come out with him as the fake priest disciple, only for that hope. The G/Swine tribe attacked the Yunchen/Salt Mountain people and killed so many people, forcing many people to flee from their safe places of residence, and that is also the Salt Mountain. Together with the plains under the southern mountains, this piece of land that is vast enough to account for 10 to 20% of the area of the original Chinese country. Yan Mo does not know how many primitive and developing indigenous people are looking for salt. 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 He was taken away by the human face bird, and he went from despair to hopefulness, and then thought that when he was temporarily hopelessly trying to escape he even saw a vast salt lake covered under his own prison. The shores of this salt lake and some shallow waters have naturally deposited a crystal of salt like a flower's. The salt crystals give off a faint red color, and the clear lake water is also glistening with light to slightly deep red. This color is related to some minerals contained in the lake. It is like the famous red salt in his original world, also known as Jiyan. This salt lake is famous for its large size, low impurities, and strong taste. He will no longer have to worry about growing up white hair on his body because of lack of salt. Yan Mo kept laughing. As for whether the salt can be eaten, he is not worried at all. Because even if the salt can't be eaten, he doesn't have to worry about salt shortage. Because he knows the large purple plant that grows into the sea of grass, it is one of the salt canopy, also known as the winged canopy, or the asparagus and so on. Generally, the alkali plant does not turn red. The alkali canopy here is like this. It is probably related to the mineral content of the soil here. In the original world, there is a wetland in the beach that is full of alkali plants which turns red in autumn. This plant has many benefits. First of all, its seedlings and stem plants can be eaten as vegetables, especially the seedlings are best, while the seeds can also be pressed, put in the pan to be fried and eaten. The taste is said to be comparable to sesame. Secondly, it also has the role of medical and health. If one eats this kind of food in moderation, it has certain curative effects on rheumatoid arthritis, asthma, obesity, diabetes, and other diseases, and also has many effects such as inhibiting cancer cell growth and anti-aging. Finally, if you burn it to ash and use it as a salt and a base. In the ancient times of the original world, some people used the ash of this plant to be used as salt. Later, some people used this kind of alkali ash to polish the surface. It is said that the surface will be very strong. The surprise came too suddenly and too full, which kept Yan Mo in the same position for a long time. This place is not particularly ideal, but it is also a good site. If he can find a suitable place to stay in the vicinity, should he be able to live well? The place where you live can't be too close to the salt lake, but it can't be too far away. For example, the land in front of the stone mountain near the forest in the northwest was very good. It looked less obvious, and there seems to be a river flowing with something like water. Building a house with stones, cultivating the fields on the nearby grasslands, hunting in the woods and grasslands, and fishing in the distance from the vast lakes in the sea. This salt lake can produce salt, and the seeds of asparagus can be used for food, and the oil, maybe even let him make out something like a soap. Just now, Yan Mo has begun to imagine that he has smashed the quartet with a bunch of primitive people, started the city to build the state, established the country, and became self-reliant. The quartet came to worship him and he earned a lot of money by selling salt. The huge black shadow was close, and the wings brought a strong wind. Yan Mo's body was blown up, and he raised his head subconsciously, and was immediately confronted the face of the proud bird. Someone who has fallen into a daydreaming got sobered up quickly. He is still under the control of a bird, and he himself is an auxiliary professional indigenous man who has knowledge but not much combat power. Not to mention the establishment of the country as a king, it is so far away and almost impossible to achieve the wild vision. He now have to figure out how to live in this nest for a few days. That is a problem. He also thought that he would jump directly without hesitation, and according to his healing ability, he might be able to heal and climb up and walk in a few days. However, in the past few days, he has to ensure that his broken body will not be eaten by this human face bird or other birds, beasts, insects, etc. He doesn't want to be the same God-giving meal. How can he not finish it, so that nearby creatures are still not happy to die? Maybe he will be stationed beside him from now on, and take a bite today, and take him to eat slowly. If I really becomes like that, can't think of it anymore, it will make him lose his will to live. Having said that, so before he solved the biggest enemy in front of him, whatever he think is a no-brainer. You are back early. Yan Mo smiled and greeted the human face bird in Chinese, and his voice was lightly placed. Besides, even if this human face bird issue is really solved, can he live here alone? I haven't seen other fierce beasts in the vicinity. It is nothing more than the deterrence of this big bird. If the big bird leaves or dies, can he guarantee the possession of this site for a long time? Going to other places to find a place to stay? How can he ensure that there is no danger in the vicinity, there is no other indigenous life? Dude, don't forget, winter is coming, and you don't even have a house for shelter. Don't talk about the house, think of a tent. If you are given a tent that doesn't leak rain and won't be blown away by the wind, will you take it? Besides, where can you get enough animal skin and enough food for the whole winter in a short time? Yan Mo's smile turned into a smile. Hey! The human face bird screamed, clutching the nest and staring at Yan Mo. What do you want to do, little two-legged monster? Run away? Will you fly? Well, I don't see him your wings. So what is the scenery? It is sometimes boring and so stupid to stare at a place. But is he not hungry? Why didn't he eat the fruit in the nest? Is it that the two-legged monster does not like to eat? Cannot eat? But the human faces bird has clearly seen those two-legged monsters eat this fruit, and they often pick it up. Or, he won't eat? Wait, does the two-legged monster wants it to feed him like a young bird? The human face bird leaned over his head, and a wing fell into the nest with a wing. Without the wings falling out, it would fall badly, and it would often fall to the prey. Immediately, it jumped into the nest and picked up the yellow fruit and sent it to the boy. Hey! A series of belly sounds that were not very loud but could not be ignored. Yan Mo climbed up from the bottom of the nest with a bird's hair and hay. He was wondering if he had offended the bird. The golden needle was already in his hand. As soon as he looked up, he saw the terrible beak carrying a bunch of fruit in his mouth. This fruit was very similar to the horse milk grape. The fruit is more slender and the length is a bit like a small finger. Muttering a bunch of fruit, the fruit is not dense, but the end was very long, and the stem is loose and the fruits were scattered on the stem. Most of the particles are full, and some are broken, giving off a rich sweet aroma. Hey! Someone swallowed a sip of water. Yan Mo was actually hungry and had a cramping hair, but he was so excited in front of him that he temporarily suppressed the feeling. When he realized it, he had extended his right hand uncontrollably. The face bird saw him reach out and touch the fruit, it licked his mouth and letting him take it. It has seen those two-legged monsters eating, so they used two front paws to grab the food. Yan Mo licked a grape and hesitated to send it into his mouth. This is the second food he has seen that he does not know. The first one was the water god leaves that Cao gave him yesterday. At that time, he hesitated and didn't eat it in time. He took a few pieces and went to find the flock with Yuan Zhan. The result was he caught by the big bird. Nowadays, the leaves he didn't know where they fell. What is the story of his hairy owner now? He remembered that the kid wanted to save him, and he heard his screaming, and finally chased him for a long way. Is he moved? Of course he will be moved. Scum does not mean cold-blooded, especially when the other party is paying for himself. However, it didn't touch much, but he felt a little pity. He don't know if I can see the kid, Yuan Zhan, in the future. He has been thinking about escaping from those people, but now that he has really escaped and found that he had no one, and he was unable to walk alone. Hey! This fruit skin is a bit awkward, but the flesh inside was very sweet. The flesh is not as juicy as the horse milk grapes he has eaten. It seems to be more solid and brittle. Seeing that the little two-legged monster began to eat, the human face bird crooned for joy. Yan Mo did not feel a threat from the big bird, he simply sitting in the nest and enjoying the bunch of grapes. After eating, he wiped his mouth and looked up to discuss with the big bird, if you don't want to kill me, can you send me out? I want to drink water, but also want to pee. You do not want me to pee in your nest.